Welcome back to Trend Guards. You know our mission here. We're all about delivering accurate, verified, and well-sourced tech analysis, prioritizing absolute clarity and trust over the hype. I'm your host, and today we put together a really authoritative explainer on AI token mechanics, this massive pricing collapse we're currently seeing across the market, and some highly actionable cost optimization strategies. Because honestly, whether you're an enterprise leader or an independent developer, the way you pay for AI is shifting dramatically right now.
To really grasp the scale of this shift, let's look at what is arguably the most important confirmed fact in the AI economy today. According to verified pricing data from MorphLLM and Developers Digest, we are seeing a massive 178 times output cost difference between the major frontier models and the new budget disruptors. For instance, Claude Fable 5 is currently charging $50 per 1 million output tokens, but DeepSeek V4 Flash, they're charging just 28 cents for that exact same volume. Literally 28 cents. If you're paying frontier prices for everyday routine tasks, you're operating at a severe financial disadvantage.
And this cost discrepancy, it's happening at an unprecedented global scale. According to a July 2026 report from SiliconANGLE, 30 trillion tokens are processed every single day. Just to put that into perspective, that is a 30 followed by 12 zeros. The sheer scale of that number establishes tokens as way more than just some niche software metric. We're talking about a fundamental global infrastructure challenge here, totally on par with bandwidth or cloud storage.
Let's start with the absolute basics. What exactly is a token? Well, it's the smallest unit of text processed by an AI language model. It isn't necessarily a full word, but it's also not just a single character. It's more like a structural fragment of text. To visualize this in practical terms, MindStudio provides a super helpful baseline for us. 1 million tokens equals roughly 750,000 words. So you can think of 1 million tokens as being about 10 full-length novels or roughly 3,000 pages of text.
And to understand how the big enterprise consulting firms are viewing this metric, listen to this exact definition straight from Accenture. They state, tokens are the units of data that AI models process, and every prompt, response, retrieval step, and agent interaction consumes them. That establishes absolute clarity on the subject. Every single interaction you have with an AI model, whether it's a human manually typing out a prompt or an autonomous agent retrieving a file in the background, consumes measurable, billable compute.
Now here's a critical distinction you absolutely have to understand: the cost difference between input tokens and output tokens. Input tokens are the data you're sending to the model, like your prompts, your uploaded PDFs, or your system instructions. These are generally much lower in cost. Output tokens, on the other hand, are the data the model generates and sends back to you. Because actually generating text requires significantly more active compute power than just reading it, output tokens are almost always more expensive. In fact, they're often up to 5 times more expensive than input tokens.
Sourced directly from Intuition Labs and BenchLM, this data perfectly contrasts the current pricing tiers. At the expensive frontier tier, Claude Fable 5 sits at $10 for input and $50 for output. Drop down to the mid-tier, and Kimi K3 brings that down to $2.90 for input and $14 for output. But then we hit the budget tier. DeepSeek V4 Flash is charging an unbelievable 14 cents for input and 28 cents for output. The floor of the market hasn't just lowered, it has entirely dropped out. DeepSeek V4 is fundamentally the pricing disruptor of the industry right now. Like we just saw, its Flash version charges just 14 cents for input and 28 cents for output per million tokens. Why does this matter so much? It's all about volume. By offering these incredibly efficient rates, DeepSeek is positioning itself as the ideal strictly utilitarian model for high-volume, routine tasks. Think standard document processing or basic data formatting. For tasks like that, paying $50 a million would simply be financial malpractice.
Meanwhile, Kimi K3's is what we call the capability disruptor. It boasts a massive 2.8 trillion parameters, a 1 million token context window, and is officially ranked #1 on the full-stack code arena benchmarks. But the real disruption here is that its weights are totally free to download. Now, as always on Trend Guards, we want to cut through the hype and clarify a frequently misrepresented fact. While those model weights are free, self-hosting Kimi K3 absolutely still requires you to pay for your own underlying compute infrastructure and electricity costs. It is not entirely free to run.
And then we have Qwen 3.8 Max, the autonomy disruptor. This is a 2.4 trillion parameter open weight model. What really stands out in the verified reporting is its demonstrated ability to run for 16 consecutive days of autonomous coding. During that time, it generated 265 commits and over 7,600 lines of code entirely without human intervention. This highlights an incredible industry shift away from those standard single-prompt chat interfaces and toward long-horizon, autonomous enterprise workflows.
Let's walk through a highly practical 3-step calculation method sourced directly from the Eternal Token Usage Guide. Step 1. Estimate your raw input and output token volume based on how frequently you make requests. Step 2. Apply the specific model's per token pricing rates, and definitely remember to keep that input versus output distinction in mind. And Step 3, which is absolutely the most critical, always apply a 1.7 to 2.0 times budget multiplier. You need this safety margin because things like autonomous retries, long system prompts, and sudden usage spikes will inevitably consume more tokens than your static estimate predicts.
Once you've calculated those costs, how do you optimize them? Well, first, you should implement semantic caching. Why? Redis explicitly notes that caching frequent, similar queries can actually cut API costs by up to 73%. That's huge. You also need to utilize model routing. Send simple tasks to budget models while saving your expensive frontier models strictly for complex reasoning. Maintain context hygiene by stripping out any unnecessary junk data. Leverage batch APIs for non-urgent tasks to secure discounted rates. And finally, start new chats frequently. Long-running conversations force the model to reread and rebill you for the entire chat history every single time you send a new message.
Continuing with part 2 of our optimization strategies, deploy open-weight models internally if your organization already has the server infrastructure to support them. Enforce strict output length limits in your system prompts so the models don't generate overly verbose, expensive text. Make sure you configure your thinking levels. Models like Kimi K3 actually allow you to dial down the background reasoning steps for simpler tasks, which saves on output tokens. Set up rigorous usage monitoring and alerts to catch runaway AI agents before they drain your budget. And finally, if you are spending heavily, negotiate your enterprise pricing. Direct negotiation can often yield 20 to 50% volume discounts from the major providers.
The anchor for our forecast comes directly from Goldman Sachs. They have issued a verified prediction of a 24-fold increase in global token consumption by the year 2030. And listen, this exponential 24x explosion, it isn't going to be driven by humans suddenly typing faster. It's going to be driven by autonomous AI agents executing hundreds of retrieval and generation steps in the background for every single high-level command a human gives them.
To manage this looming explosion, the broader industry context shows a clear pivot. We are seeing a major upcoming shift toward outcome-based pricing, where enterprises actually pay for a completed task or a fixed bug rather than just a raw token count. To support this transition, the Linux Foundation has announced a tokenomics initiative aimed at standardizing open metrics for token cost, efficiency, and interoperability across the entire industry.
The token economy is undeniably restructuring itself right in front of us. It's collapsing at the budget tier while simultaneously expanding exponentially in sheer volume. We've outlined the confirmed cost structures, the primary disruptors, and the concrete strategies you need to stop overpaying today. So I want to leave you with a final thought to consider. How is your organization currently adapting its AI token budget to navigate this massive shift toward outcome-based pricing? Let us know down in the comments how your team is handling this transition. Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer, and trust TrendGuards to keep bringing you the accurate, well-sourced facts you need.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. It really helps the channel grow. See you in the next video.